So content testing is basically like, we have all these ideas about like what our phases will look like, what our campaigns will look like, how to make national democratic decision-making structures, blah, 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 or, you know, like the DNA decisions. And we have thought a lot about them, but there's also only 11 of us, and we like want to know if people like them. And that's basically the heart of content testing. So then there's like a lot of structures that we're using to do that. So we're like using polling, we're doing like social media message testing, we're like talking to unorganized people, we're talking to our movement, we're talking to partners, we're just talking to a lot of people. And actually, like last week I like crunched the numbers and I was like, wow, we're talking to like over 3,000 people about the content that we are testing, or the content that we have created. So that's what content testing basically is. It's a whole bunch of different tactics put together to ask people what they think about different elements of the DNA that we have created. And yeah, like how it affects people. Well, first of all, how it affects the DNA. I'm like, we don't want to front load or launch something that people don't resonate with or like that doesn't work. And I think particularly one thing I'm excited about is the public run content testing. We are really emphasizing getting feedback from like Black and Latina people and working class and poor people, because we're like, that is actually who Sunrise in the past has least known how to talk to and how to organize. And so being like, does our new DNA actually work to organize these communities that we deeply believe we need to organize in order to win? So I'm very excited about that and waiting the like feedback of unorganized people. And as for like how it's going to affect everyone in the movement, I think like, yeah, I'm like, if like we want you to participate. Like we really value this, and it's like the biggest way to affect front loading. And I think it'll really help with the process of like ratification of the DNA like later down the line as well, to like have been able to change it first and like get feedback before we just like approve it.
So what happens next? Now that we are reaching the final drafts of Front Loading 2.0 and our strategy, structure, culture, and story that we want to draft for the next couple of years, comes content testing, which is kind of self-explanatory, but the question is, great, is any of the stuff that we've worked on actually good? Does it work? And so what's next as part of content testing is recruiting staff people and movement leaders and hubs to help us lead this process of experimentation with the knowledge that they have, to actually get feedback and get support on how we can create and truly usher in this era of 2.0. And that's going to be a really, really intentional process with a lot of feedback and a lot of leadership that's going to be required from both our staff and our hubs and our leaders. But that's the map that we're drawing right now over how to actually do the thing.
Basically, the feedback from content testing is going to get integrated into the DNA. And I mean, obviously not every piece of feedback will. It'll be like, what are the major trends of feedback, and like who is saying what, and like, great, what do we need to integrate to organize better? And then we are going to run some sort of process around ratifying the DNA, which we think is going to include like voting on a couple aspects, including like, what are the planks of our decentralized campaign? And like, actually this retreat we're discussing what ratification should look like, so I don't really have more answers. But yeah, voting to like ratify the DNA formally as a full movement. And then it's going to look like a lot of months, I think, of like training and launching as we like set up structures for the next several years. And I think I don't want to underestimate the work that it's going to actually take to like teach ourselves to do the really big things that we need to do.